My God, I think I'm back. Like, sorry about that. I have no idea what happened on stream number 6 there, but apparently I just saw a screen, it just said error. So I'm like, okay, so just now started to let me back in to do something. So no one will probably see this, but I'm going to finish showing my X-Men books anyway because I want to put these things away. So here we go. Because why not, I guess. I'm in front of the computer. I can still hit live. We may as well just finish the fight, I guess, as they say. So I think we're on J. Scott Campbell, X-Men Gold, something like that. Let's see what else we have. Oh, we got a cool cover. Addie Granoff, X-Men Gold. Only reason I bought this is the cover. Haven't read too much of X-Men Gold. I'd like to at some point. I think Cullen Bunn does some good stuff in there. So that's kind of like on like my to-read list at some point. So there's X-Men Gold, number 11. Cool Clayton Crane Venom cover there, I believe. Or Venomized Omega Red, because everything was Venomized for a while that year it came out. We have J Hood. He said he came back. So thank you, J Hood, for coming back and finding the stream. How's it going, man? Hope you're still doing all right. But yeah, it looks like Streamyard just completely crashed out, and now we're slowly making our way back. He's one of these fried pie variant gimmicks. So these are exclusive to like stores like Books A Million. So yeah, you see these fried pies sometimes. They don't do these so much anymore because fried pie, I don't even think fried pie is around anymore, or the Books A Million too much. So whatever agreement they had, I think has ended. I think I got this off of somebody's auction. Another X-Men Gold number 1, Deadpool variant, where he gets an Oscar that's made of Cyclops somehow. X-Men Blue annual. No idea where I got this one from, but like I said, I think this is just a throw-in or an AOK maybe or something like that. Maybe it was a dollar book. Cool Clayton Crane X-Men Blue New Mutants variant. So some cool variants in these runs, but I don't remember too much, unfortunately, about the actual stories in red and blue. Well, I said I do want to read one. I think it's blue that has the Cullen Bunn stuff. So at some point, I do want to read blue just because I like me some Cullen Bunn. He's a really cool guy. And then there is issue number 1, which I think I found all these for $1. Is the only reason I have those first few issues of X-Men Blue. But I think my favorite of like those the color run is X-Men Red. They brought back Jean Grey and Phoenix to Resurrection. So she was killed off all the way from New X-Men 150, kind of all the way up to this X-Men Red run. Right before that, she gets brought back. But I actually really enjoyed the little team they built in X-Men Red and ran with until the basically awful reboot of Uncanny X-Men. And you got these cool Jenny Frison covers to boot. So you get X-23, Jean Grey, Honey Badger, Storm, Gambit, and a couple new characters, one of which was Trinary, all in this run. And it's written by Tom Taylor as well, who's done Deceased, and I think he did Injustice as well. So, oh yeah, and then you had Namor on the team as well. I kind of forgot Namor was involved in this one, but yeah, he's one of the most random guys they threw in because, you know, they hadn't really used him too much on the X-Men side, even though they acknowledged he was a mutant. So he made a deal with Jean Grey to be on the team. So I thought that was pretty cool. They're looking for some kind of an amnesty place to stay. And of course, Namor helps them out in that retrospect. There is another New Mutants variant for issue number 2. Probably should have just got the Frison cover on that. But Dan Mora, he's not too bad either. And then I have this Javier Garron issue 1 variant. So the Young Guns variant, I believe, is what this one's called. And it's just an awesome group shot of the team fighting a Sentinel. So pretty awesome one there. And then I got a bunch of variants for Phoenix Resurrection. Here is the Jenny Frison variant. Actually got signed down there by Jenny Frison. A lot of cool variants on this because, you know, once they brought back Phoenix, there's a lot of artists like your J. Scotts and such that wanted to come out and work on it. And somewhere I got some J. Scott variant covers to show, but I actually have 2 copies of that Frison variant. There is the second one I have right there, not signed. Then here is your Art Germ variant on that one. He just did the normal B cover. I'd like to get the Virgin one at some point. I might have to see if that's cheaper now that no one's looking for it. We got Jihad. Let's see what he's saying. Chase says, I skipped most of those color branded books. I saw it as Marvel's money grab, doing 3 titles that team mixes didn't jive with my taste. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, because I think not only did you have the 3 color teams going, you had Astonishing X-Men also going, like a newer run, I think, with Charles Soule. So you basically had an X-Men book a week, none of which were hyped up for anything. So I just found X-Men Red to enjoy out of that whole mess, basically, and that was it for me. Here, going back to the classics, we got Classic X-Men. Got this one double signed. Arthur Adams up top there, and on the bottom, he did the back cover of it. John Bolton, got to meet him at a Cincinnati Comic Expo a couple years back. And I guess while we're thinking about it, we may as well take a look at that John Bolton back cover to see what that looks like, because I'm sure it's really awesome. And you get Jean Grey and Wolverine and Angel just hanging out. So very cool cover. Not an artist you hear about too much, but he was a really cool guy to meet. I bought a hardcover off of him as like his own book, and he was nice enough to do a sketch inside that book. So really cool guy. And I got a couple runs of these Classic X-Men. So there's issue 2, cool 25th anniversary Arthur Adams cover on issue 3. We got Fish Tropic. He found the stream again. What's going on, man? J Hood says that may have been Marvel's trying to replace the X-Men with the Inhumans. Not sure how they expected that to work. Yeah, that just made me hate the Inhumans. I'm sorry if there's any Inhumans fans, but then none of those characters ever did anything for me. I kind of like the big bulldog who could teleport. I can't remember his name because I don't read Inhumans. I'm not like, I know Black Bolt and then that dog and then was it Medusa? Like I said, I'm not going to pretend to even be an Inhumans expert. But every time I see them, they just leave a bad taste in my mouth, especially when they're like, hey, we can use these guys in the MCU, but we can't have the X-Men, so we're going to try to phase out any of our favorite X-Men in comic, like the Fantastic Four, and bring in characters you can actually watch at the movie theater. And that's just something they shouldn't have done. So, yeah, I'm right there with you, J Hood. And you got some cool Magnolia covers on these X-Men classics. And like I said, if you can't afford those older X-Men and want some really cool, like almost variant covers for those old X-Men, you may as well just go with the classic line. So there's a lot of cool stuff. Like you eventually get some, like you get a lot of Magnolia, and then eventually get some Adam Hughes. And of course, like I said early on, you get the Arthur Adams. So what's not to love? So let's see. I talked about Adam Hughes. So you got Adam Hughes on 71 there. Strong Wolverine and Storm. Kitty Pryde, Adam Hughes. Once again, shout out the Poor Man's Comics. He was doing his 2 Hughes Tuesday tag on Instagram. Do like that cover with Jean and Cyclops. And then I think we're almost through X-Men books finally. And of course, I got that small stack over there I wanted to highlight. But here's Deadly Genesis. I talked about that a little bit earlier, where you get the third Summers brother. And some people liked it, some people didn't. Here's X-Men Evolution #1. Based on that awesome cartoon they had on the WB's. Like the last animation lineup standing was that WB Saturday morning lineup in the early 2000s. And when they closed down, that was like the last in-house animation studio that closed. So always liked X-Men Evolution. That was one of theirs. Here's Phoenix In Song #1. Got that one signed by Greg Land. The bottom there. Always liked that cover he did. I think that's one of my favorites he's done. He also did X-Men The End. Got that one signed right there on the cover above Storm. So not too bad. I think they finally tried to use this as an excuse to make Gambit the third Summers brother. Like I said, there's always been this allure around the third Summers brother. They've always wanted to go back to, and there's probably like 7 third Summers brothers at this point, something like that. Then I got a couple more issues of The End, but I just like a lot of the Marvel The End stuff because they would keep it simple. They bring in good creators, but I think when it came to X-Men, there's just a little bit too much. They did like 3 6-issue miniseries, whereas the Hulk had a one-shot. So I don't know how they determined to do 18 issues of X-Men the End, but I could have settled for just like one X-Men the End period. Oh, yes. Burn it down. We got Sam's Tangled Web in the chat. What's going on, man? How you doing today? Haven't seen Sam for a while. I like Sam. He's a good guy. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Like I said, how many of these do we need? I kind of just fell off of it at a certain point. There's a Free Comic Day X-Men. Shout out to Vintage Phoenix, local shop near me. Hopefully they're doing all right. Like I said, I don't know why I have two of them, but I do. New X-Men, Kyle, Yost, and Norton, another one on my want-to-read list because I like Craig Kyle and Chris Yost. I have, I think, one single issue from their run. Iron Spider has found it back to the stream. Thank you so much for joining back in, man. J Hood says, Gambit would have been mildly more satisfying than Vulcan, another character that essentially vanished. You're not wrong. I got this one in a J. Scott Campbell mystery box that has the certificate of authenticity. X-Men Black, Magneto #1. Big, huge gold signature by Campbell on the side. It's pretty awesome there. Like I said, can't have enough Campbell signatures in my collection. There is the other cover. Oh, no, this is the X-Men. This is what kills me. When they do weddings nowadays, you have to have like a whole bunch of build-up. You have to have a wedding special, and then the actual issue where the wedding doesn't happen for whatever reason. So X-Men was guilty of it. Batman was guilty of it. It all happened really at the same time. It was really annoying to me as a fan. X-Men Runaways. I think this is the cool issue where you get Molly throws Wolverine through a church, if I remember right, in this one. So some pretty funny stuff. It was Runaways in their prime when you still had Brian K. Vaughan backing them up. So love me some good Runaways. Nowadays, I don't even know what's going on in that book. Okay, so here we go. Probably my favorite of the Campbell variants on Phoenix Resurrection, the Dark Phoenix variant. I'd love to get this signed at some point. One of my favorite covers. He did like 8 of these dang things. He did, I think I still may have 1 or 2 of them, maybe. But I think I sold most of them off just because when I bought this run, I really just wanted this cover. And is that finally the last of the... I still have Extermination. Yeah, I finally took those kids and put them back in the timeline the right way. So, yeah, I might actually use Marvel Unlimited to read this whole thing, but I don't know. I enjoyed when they brought the kids back. By the kids, I mean the characters, like the original 5 that Beast brought back in the Bendis run. But yeah, they way overstayed their welcome big time. So lastly, I think a lot of these are from, I had this little wall of books behind me yesterday. So here's the books I had on the wall. Figured I'd highlight these and then we'll sign off hopefully before StreamYard kicks the bucket again. So a couple years ago for $1, I finally found the variant cover to Messiah Complex Chapter 1. Phenomenal Silvestri run. They actually use this as the main cover for the hardcover as well. So this was the B cover for the original Messiah Complex. I don't know if it was a one-shot. I feel like it was a 2-shot, basically, and then everything else was in the core X-Men titles at the time. But really like Messiah Complex, so I had to put that in Mylar as I was kind of sorting through. Jihad says, I do need to read Extermination to see how they resolve the young X-Men. Yeah, I think young Cable kills old Cable. Young Cable kills Vampire Storm from another something and then takes the kids back. I don't know. Something like that. I was talking about 90s gimmicks earlier. We'll go there one more time. The cards. Hollow foil cards glued onto the cover. What's not to love? Got this one signed by Jay Lee. John Romita Jr. right on the card there. So it's a new Uncanny X-Men 304. Reason you didn't see this book is because it was in this pile. Here is a new X-Men 114, the start of the Grant Morrison run. Absolutely iconic cover, in my opinion. First time they kind of donned these like newer movie-style costumes. And then, of course, the other cover for X-Men 115 with Emma Frost wearing this reverse X outfit, or the X is just skin. So, popular cover back in the day. I'm sure it probably still is now. Here is the Dynamic Forces variant to Uncanny X-Men 500, and it's also an Alex Ross cover. I prefer this one over the main cover, actually. And I actually got this signed by Alex Ross right there. So I just love it because it has the Phoenix dead in the middle and a classic version of Wolverine, like pretty much classic version of all those characters. So really like that. I think it's kind of a swipe of the X-Men 101, it looks like. Kind of really noticed that till now. Nothing says X-Men like vampires. Ugh, I agree, J Hood. I agree. That's why that Gischler run, I could pass on that. I was slowly getting back in X-Men at that time, and then that run happened, and I was just like, eh. Here is an X-Woman one-shot, most notably for Milo Manera's artwork on the X-Women. So got this off an auction from somebody. I can't remember who at this point, but Milo Manera, really nice art. I like me some Dark Phoenix, so had to get this one off the J. Scott Campbell store as well. I think they're doing some one-shot sales at this point. This is one of those ones I bought, and for some reason they oversold it, so they offered me a free upgrade to getting a signed one, and I wasn't going to say no to that. So it comes with a certificate of authenticity, and then the big old Campbell signature right there. Here is one of my favorite books in my whole collection. Not the world's greatest shape because it does have a couple dings on the side for what I probably threw up my book bag when I bought it at a con. But here is Civil War X-Men #1. Phenomenal Aspen cover on this one from Mike Turner, Peter Steigerwald. Got it signed by Yannick Paquette up top, who did the interior art on the title. And then hopefully it'll come out all right on the camera. I got the Mike Turner and Peter Steigerwald signatures on the bottom there. So definitely one of my favorite covers because it's Mike Turner. What's not to like? Easily the best artist of the 2000s, in my opinion. So there you go. Some rarely, in my opinion, rarely seen Michael Turner stuff. I definitely don't see throughout the community. So really cool book. If you see it for cheap, go for it. You probably won't though, because these convention exclusives, I hardly ever even see, say, on eBay or anything like that either. So if I ever see these for $1, I buy like 10 every single copy by far. Here's X-Men Onslaught, once again signed by Adam Kubert. So this is kind of like where the Onslaught saga started, when Onslaught came and just whooped all that X-Men ass all over the place. And this was also around the time where Wolverine had no nose in the 90s. So he had like this bandana that somehow he didn't have a nose. So takes you back. Had this one up, just a random one I had. I think it's my favorite of the Hughes covers I own, with Storm on the cover there. So just wanted to highlight that. I did also have the first Phantom X. So this is issue number 128. But I just always like that Jean Grey cover too. Had to get that signed by Ethan Van Sciver. So I actually got this signed before I knew this was, I didn't even realize this was the first Phantom X. So I do love me some Phantom X though, so I'm glad I have that. Astonishing X-Men 17. My favorite cover of that whole run is just, he's like Wolverine has been like manipulated by Cassandra Nova. He thinks he's a little kid again, pre-Wolverine origin. So he's just running around the mansion scared until Beast makes him drink a beer and he turns into Wolverine again. So got that one signed by Cassaday. So really fun. Here's X-Men Schism issue 1. Got this one signed by Carlos Pacheco and Jason Aaron. As the start of the Schism run I already talked about. But good 5-issue mini leading into some good X-Men stuff. And then the last and final book for the day. Once again, one of the first X-Men books I ever owned because I like the cards. And this was probably the key issue of that whole Fatal Attractions thing. X-Men 25. Got an Andy Kubert signature on there. Cool Gambit card of him throwing cards on the 3D card there. But this is the one where Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine, and then you get the whole era with Bone Claw Wolverine that was so influential. If you played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, a game I do know where is at, unlike Part 3, you actually get to play as Bone Claw Wolverine and adamantium Wolverine. And Bone Claw has the longer reach and heals faster. So you got to love it. One of my favorite books as a kid. Had this one in the collection since the 90s, so definitely happy to keep hanging on to that. But let's visit the chat one more time, and then we'll sign off here once and for all because I wasn't expecting to stream this long today and talk to myself. But hey, it is what it is, I suppose. Iron Spider says use a stream where you share your thoughts about TV shows and movies. Yeah, one day I'll probably do something like that where I just do like a favorite movies list or something. But thanks for the suggestion, Iron Spider. I definitely appreciate it. And like I said, we had J Hood, we had Sam's Tangled Web, hop back in, we had Fish Tropic. So sorry for the technical difficulties earlier, guys, but I was just looking up after putting up a book and it said error. I was still live somehow, but wasn't. But yeah, we made it through the X-Men run finally. So now I get to sort all this stuff back in, put it away. There's big thanks, guys, for joining me. Hopefully, I was a semi-happy distraction on these crazy quarantine times. But big thanks once again for you guys joining me. I hope you have a good rest of your day and stay safe out there.